Hello there, I'm JP,
Hello there, I'm WH.
and we're back. Now, there's a story behind all of this because we were getting ready to record nearly 2 weeks ago the series finale for the Mandalorian that we had been recapping, and then rather selfishly on the Sunday night, as I was painting the kitchen, because it was a job I'd put off for age, and I thought, well, I need to do this before my girlfriend gives birth, and then her waters broke.
Mm.
And I now have another son to add to the collection of boys that we have between us as well. So apologies for those of you who missed out on the finale that was meant to happen a couple of weeks ago. But here we are. We're eventually back, mate.
Yeah, I got your text like, oh, I can't record because, Vicky's gonna give birth. I said, oh, shit, don't worry about me. I'm fine. I can wait. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, 3 weeks out. He's still he's 2 weeks tomorrow at time of recording. We're doing this on a Sunday night. It is, it's very much muscle memory though at this stage. Like I say, we've 2 sons each from previous relationships, so it's like at this stage, this is boy 5 between us. Like we're pretty well versed on what to do. It's just trying to get through cope with the lack of sleep. I think, and things like that at the moment. That's the only issue, really.
Well, I think I might just refer to him as CDP. So instead of like his full name or just Charlie, it's just CDP, just so he can be part of the club. The alphabet club here.
I like that. I think if he wants to go with CDP, that's good. Although he will be when he's inevitably being naughty, being told off with his full name in the way that parents do.
Right.
Charlie David Patrick. And it would just get all that kind of nonsense. I don't know what happens. We all do it as parents.
Is that like the most weird Irish name you could think of for him?
Well, Charlie, given the weekend of the coronation, it wasn't related. The Queen was still alive when that name was chosen.
Right.
That was done by his brothers Harry and George, who had decided the name. We kind of liked it. We were kind of umming and ahhing about what name to go with, and then they came up with that. And it was like, yeah.
So they're secretly royals because there's King George and then there's Prince Harry, and so they were like, we need to complete the triumvirate. And
he's the younger brother, Prince Harry, so no doubt he'll have a bit of kickoff at some point in a few years' time.
That's right.
Yeah, he'll be the controversial figure in all of it. But no, we've had a coronation this weekend. We have a new king that we're all pledging allegiance to.
That's right. I'm a Commonwealth person, so
you're gonna be on board with this, mate.
That's right. He's gonna initiate his own Order 66 against those who don't pledge. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, did want to make a point in terms of the new, in terms of Charlie. He makes a lot of Grogu style noises. Is the thing that you find very cute, kind of little growls and little squeaks and stuff like that. And I'm sure if there was a button that he could press that said yes or no, just mainly for milk, I think at this stage, or a nappy, then it would be like he'd be hitting that full throttle as well. But it's crazy times, mate. Yeah, honestly, crazy times. How have you been though?
Good. Just been busy. We got a lot of things happening here in Toronto. Like personally with work, it was Free Comic Book Day across North America. So my store participates in that. So like I work on the comic book store floor of the big bookstore that I work in, and it was massively busy. Even with like someone up there helping me for the first 3 hours or so. But even after he left, like the last 2 hours I worked were still massively busy. But it was fun. I think we had one of our best days sales wise. So that was nice.
That's cool.
Also, just been going to a lot of local shows with John Pollock. John was saying the other day, the last show we did a post Perez, and he was just like, in 3 weeks we've gone to 3 wrestling shows together live, which is like really weird because I don't think we've ever done that kind of slew together, that except maybe in Japan, before the pandemic. And then so we saw GCW at the Opera House, we saw Impact Rebellion at the Rebel Entertainment Complex, and then we saw Demand Lucha, which is a local promotion here in Toronto, at the Parkdale Hall, which is honestly the best venue because there's no bad sight lines and the atmosphere was incredible. Like the show is just it's a fun show. I don't go there for story because there's no really storylines, I feel, but like people tell me, no, there's a storyline with this guy, WH. That guy does a Freddie Mercury cosplay gimmick, but now he joined the Los Medicos evil Dr. Lucha faction. So now he's just Fred Die. Oh, okay. That sounds amazing. I don't know. This was only my second show, but it's fun. And so there's that. Been doing a lot of recording. A bunch of us are going to go to Wade's barbecue, but then of course the big thing is Forbidden Door in June.
Yes.
And a lot of the events surrounding Forbidden Door, we're going to have people flying in to come hang out, and there's going to be a live show.
The Forbidden Pour.
The Forbidden Pour is the after party put on.
That's the after party, right?
Braden and Davey. That's exciting. I'll end up going to that. But before the pay-per-view, we're going to have the live show. It's all at the same complex, which is right next door or across from the Scotiabank Center, which is where the event is. So yeah, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Like the whole week, I'm taking the week off, like because friend from Ireland, Neil Flanagan's coming. He said, I got a massive place. You could just stay here and be my tour guide. I go, sure, why not? I'll just do that. It makes my life easier, actually. So
that sounds kind of awesome.
Yeah.
But it sounds like an amazing time. Really looking forward to that, and hopefully you'll be seeing Davey in a not long after that for All In.
That's right. He's busy, and Braden, he's coming over,
and Braden's going over as well. Wow, because that is good. Well, it's it's getting 60,000 plus. That's all I'm saying. I got my tickets bright and early.
It'll be your first time meeting Braden then.
It will be. Yep. Yeah. Which will be fantastic, and it'll be like just the amount. I know we're in the stage of planning a few things of what to do for that weekend, so that's going to be great. The other thing is, just the amount of buzz for it already, even at this point, since tickets have been on sale, and because they've sold so many, it feels like it's going to be like some sort of proper. And we are starved of proper big shows.
Yeah.
Like we really are. So it's something that I'm completely like throwing myself into. So
what would the modern day equivalent in AEW be of Hulk Hogan versus Paul Orndorff after Orndorff turned on him? Because that's what we got in Toronto.
Yeah, you got that, didn't you?
Yeah, which is a massive show, right?
Yeah, that was a proper. That was like 60,000, wasn't it? 57
stadium. It's the CNE Stadium, and where the Argos used to play, where the Jays used to play before they created the Sky Dome. So they gave us a hell of a card, actually. The big show is what they call this. So I'm thinking this is what Wembley should be. So it should be like something equivalent. Like they didn't shoehorn like some Canadian like main event in there. They just said Paul Orndorff versus Hulk Hogan because we just ran the big angle, and so that's going to be in Toronto and sold it out. And so like I don't feel AEW should necessarily try to shoehorn, a quote unquote British star into the main event or anything like that. Just something big, and then you can have British stars in key matches, but make it a key lore match in AEW history. Like you guys are always saying, Sting's retirement match against MJF. Sure. And then have an awesome work rate match in the semi-main event.
Yeah. That would be it. And then in terms of your British stars, Jamie Hayter versus Saraya feels, and it would be the match you would do.
You know what I would do?
I'm not looking forward to it though.
I would do Jamie Hayter. I would do Jamie Hayter versus Julia in an exhibition match.
Well, you see, that would be that. I mean, that really would be something then at that point if they were going to be able to do that. But then you might be seeing that at Forbidden Door. But then I'm imagining it'll actually be Mayu Watani.
Yeah, I think it'll be Mayu if she's coming for. They do women's matches with Stardom Talent. I think it's going to be Mayu. Maybe. Like I don't know if Kyrie would do it. I think she's pretty loyal to the WWE, so I don't know if she would do an AEW match. Mayu for sure. Maybe Julia.
I think Julia would do.
Yeah.
I think just the amount of, but it's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. It really is. It's like it's one of those occasions where you just think to yourself, "Oh my god, it's like after what has felt like like a horrible kind of lull that's gone on for a long time. And we've spoken ourselves like about like how jaded we can be as like wrestling fans. As people who podcast about it regularly, it's like it's nice to have stuff to really look forward to and to feel excited by, and just to go, oh, you know, I know this for example, my girlfriend just doesn't watch wrestling with me at all. The only thing she'll watch is like AEW All Access because it's a reality show. She goes, well, I can kind of get this, but really, in terms of the wrestling, she's not that interested. But even she, you can see, it's kind of exciting because it's like, oh, this is quite cool. We've got good seats for an event that normally we wouldn't be able to go to, let alone one that looks like it could be pretty packed by the time it's there. So it's like, I don't know. And especially with the Forbidden Door, you know, it's going to be like an incredibly exciting time for the pair of us, though, isn't it?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. And I'm thinking I might go to all out. That's
All Out. That's the Chicago one.
I might go to All Out again. We'll see. You know,
that would be well. I'll tell you, that's a whole other conversation about how they're going to manage to do that. Honestly, that's the one where you think, you know, God,
that's the CM Punk main event match that's going to happen. Is going to happen there.
Yeah,
you know?
I think if you were going to do it, you want to do your Punk Omega there, you could do that. That would obviously massively sell, and then do the 6-man on Wembley. That would be the kind of
you do the Elite versus Punk FTR as the prelude to
that Wembley
Punk Omega main event in Chicago. Doesn't have to be for a title because it sells itself. The story sells itself, right? And then
I wouldn't put a title on Punk just because he'll get injured again.
I always, here's the thing. I always forget MJF is the champion because this title race so far sucks.
This one, I mean, the Danielson match, I was a massive fan of. However, this build to Double or Nothing, I'm just not really feeling it.
Yeah. Like, by the way, I don't ever use the term 4 pillars with these guys in my presence because I find it a gross misappropriation of that term. I think Tony Khan's a fucking idiot for using that term on these guys. They've not earned it. They're never going to live up to what that actually means. And so, like, when people say that, I know they don't even. I know people who podcast about it and don't even believe that this is a good label for these guys, anyways. But it just makes me irrationally angry whenever oh yeah, Jungle Boy, he's a 4 pillar. No, he's not. Fuck off.
I don't blame you for that one. Actually, I mean that is. I mean, it was like, as an offhand remark, people made early doors, which I couldn't care about, to the point of this now where it's being said all the time. And you're going, I'm just not even convinced 3 of you are like the pillars of the company. The company would get on fine if 3 of you weren't there. Like,
MJF would be the only one. MJF is really right now the only one has the potential to reach a level like that.
Yeah,
I would go with him. Like, if future stars, okay, Daniel Garcia would be my pick. I would pick Wheeler Yuta.
Would be.
I think he's. I'm telling you, 3 years from now, within 3 years, people are going to be talking about this guy's the hottest heel in all of wrestling, and someone else. I don't know who that.
Jamie Hayter.
Jamie Hayter, sure. If we want to be fair about it, doesn't have to be always men, right? So that's our anachronistic way of thinking of things these days. Yeah, Jamie Hayter. Shit, there you go. 4 pillars of your company you build around, and not fucking Sammy Guevara. Fuck off.
Well, let's cheer you up, mate. In that case, cheering you up from that, for the reason we are normally here, which we are doing it with the completists that we are. We're going to talk about the finale of Mandalorian, Chapter 24, The Return. Mm-hmm. Which I suppose, I mean, while we'll do some of the recap, this is really, I suppose, the bigger conversations about how it kind of wrapped up in terms of the season. Where do you think this season ranks compared to seasons 1 and 2?
I'm gonna say it's the third one. It's 2 is my favorite. In retrospect, 2 is my favorite. 1 is very close to it, and 3 is, it's not terrible. Like, I don't think it's terrible, but if I'm gonna see which one did I get the most enjoyment out of, I'm gonna say 2. 2 is the one I got the most enjoyment out of because it had the return of Boba Fett. Used Boba Fett really well. you got the return of Luke Skywalker in the season finale of that, and it was a big surprise. What a moment for me as a fan. And I thought it just really developed the character of Din Djarin immensely. I don't see that much of that happening this season. I think more it developed the the characters of the Mandalorian culture more, which I enjoyed. But this is the weakest season so far of this show, and I think it's because they are tying it towards leading into whatever Dave Filoni has planned for his feature film.
Yeah, you can see that being the case when we spoke about this off air. We'll come to it later on in terms of the recap of the way that they're very neatly tying the bow and setting the landscape for kind of effectively, the the leading towards Snoke, the idea of seeing Commandant Hux, seeing, the mentioning of Grand Admiral Thrawn, you've got. It seems to be like they're putting stuff in place, but at times there was a kind of inconsistency of pacing, I think, as well, and a few little red herrings as well. But we'll get into that stuff where I thought, oh, okay, so the
spies,
yeah, just didn't happen at all on there. So, but we did start off, and it pretty much as an episode is very much an all-action episode. So we're kind of starting off straight away with Bo-Katan. Like the last thing we'd seen was the death of Paz Vizsla. But we had Bo-Katan retreating through the base with her fighters. She's radioing Axe Woves, who's going up into the sky for reinforcement. They have got, basically new orders on there, which was evacuate the big ship and use it as a diversion to save everyone else on there in there as well. But then we've also got, we saw Din Djarin being dragged off in there, but he ends up taking out the two captors in quite a brutal little fight. I thought.
I thought this episode, the fighting style in this episode was very John Wick like.
Yes, I thought that without the speed of John Wick, but that's a natural given. You've got people wearing quite. Armor, but also it's quite bulky. You can imagine it being quite heavy from just even a logistical perspective for it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was like very, very kind of close quarters fighting style, but it did feel very John Wick because the amount of bullets they end up taking because of the Beskar armor. It does end up reminding you of people holding up their arm using their suit jackets to deflect bullets away. Well, very John Wick.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like the guy who does all the hand-to-hand stuff in the armor is Lateef Crowder. He's very, seasoned martial arts, movie stuntman, and of course he's been the fight double for this character for every season. So and then the guy who does all the shooting is Brendan Wayne. He does all the shooting stunts for Din Djarin, and Pascal, Pedro Pascal just talks a lot. That's I think he does a little bit of the action, but he doesn't do the bulk of it because it's very difficult to do it in with the helmet on and the armor on. So these guys have perfected. Lateef Crowder especially has perfected fighting in that armor, which what a champ that man is. But yeah, I feel like one thing that I really liked is the throughout the whole episode was the intercutting between different battles within this episode, which was like the Din Djarin's battles with the stormtroopers, and then like with the Praetorian Guards with Moff Gideon, and then but cutting it back to the larger battle between the Mandalorians and the Imperial Super Commandos, and then intercutting at some point with like Grogu and his battles and Bo-Katan, her battles. And one thing I really loved was the use of wipe cuts. That's a very Star Wars thing.
Yes.
Wipe cuts. Love seeing wipe cuts in any kind of Star Wars property.
No, really, I love a wipe cut on there. Unless I always think then of Homer Simpson and Star Cuts. That's what he ends up doing for one of his for an episode of The Simpsons. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this episode is very much like it's a series of like action sequences with like the culmination of like various battles that you see in there. So, you know, for example, you've got although there is one lovely bit as well where you've got R5D4 tapping into the computer system. This is so, you know, to go back in terms of the plot where that happens, you've got Moff Gideon. He's showing his Beskar helmet. You know, he spoke about it at the end of the previous episode on there as well, saying he'll personally find and kill Din Djarin. He then, you know, who's radioed R5D4 to tap into it and find the command center on there. And then looking towards the schematics and everything else, we've got Axe Woes reaching the ship on there. We've got, you know, Bo-Katan like flying through the air with the armorer as well, taking on various kind of people. It's done with like, I mean, this is again where it ranks in terms of the length of the episode. This is like 38 minutes, but it does feel like it moves. Like, one thing you've got for this is real pace, and I think you could accuse perhaps some of the episodes earlier in the series of going, okay, this feels like this is taking slightly off the beaten track, whereas for this is very much like kind of action, even though there is dialogue and there is plot exposition going on at the same time. It's always been done in the medium of there is a battle going on and we're going to have all of these various forces taking each other on.
I watched it again today before we recorded, and I didn't fast forward nothing, but it flew. It just flew by. I was like, oh my God, it's almost over.
Absolutely.
I watched it only once. I was going to watch it before we recorded it originally, and then we got delayed, obviously. And then I thought I'll watch it
Bloody
today.
Charlie. Sorry.
Well, no, that's fine. And then I was just, again, I was surprised that I surprised myself, but like how quickly it flew by, because I'd seen it before. I was just like, okay, I don't remember it being this fast. Now it does feel like, wow, it's really well paced. And because I got invested in what was happening on screen with everything. So when that happens, I think it's easy for time to fly when you're watching something like this.
Yeah, it really does. And I think it kind of needed that as well. I mean, like for this to kind of work as much, because there's a lot of like moving parts, like we're going to come into plot wise, they're tying up all of those kind of loose ends. But it really, for me, this one flew. Like, it really did. It was like watching it again, like you say, I was like kind of quite pleasantly reminded. I was like, oh, okay. Because I watched it again to kind of remind myself, because spoke about at the beginning. There's been a lot on the last couple of weeks on there as well. But I felt like it was, you could kind of see what the final set piece was going to be, particularly when you've got Axe Woes getting on that capital ship on there, getting all of everyone else. So you think, okay, he's going to be basically launching this into the Imperial base as like the big, like destroying the base, the base camp that they've built on Mandalore on there as well. And it's, you know, it's very much like you can see, okay, right, there's only a certain amount of time, so we need to know that there's going to be the Moff Gideon, Din Djarin, Bo-Katan battles as well on there. But yeah, the phrase I've written down on here in the notes is epic aerial carnage, because that's what a lot of it is. And if you're a fan of, I don't know, you are of, you know, some of the dogfights they have, we've got plenty of this here. We've got 2 sets of dogfights, haven't you? Because you've got like the TIE fighters as well, trying to like blow up the ship, whilst at the same time you've got the stormtroopers, or the super stormtroopers with the special armor flying through the air against the Mandalorians as well. It's a hell of a lot going on. There's
a great side, focus on Mercedes Monet as Casca Reeves.
Yeah,
she does this great maneuver where she's being chased by, the Imperial guys. They're flying through the air. She turns off her jetpack. She slides across something. She ducks underneath it, and then she uses her knee pad rockets to take out the 2. I was just like, I rewatched that. I was like, can we just rewind that really quickly? I was just like, that's just some really, whoever designed the action choreography in this was like, hats off to you. It's like some of this is really good. And the aerial stuff, which I think it must be incredibly difficult to shoot. Like, cause like, I don't know how they did it in terms of like a lot of wires and green screen, I would imagine. or using the volume, I guess, to some extent as well. But like the stunt person has to do that slide, and then they have to shoot it so that it looks like she goes under, and then she has to do the knee movement. I don't think that's CGI. I think that's a real person doing that stuff. So like, and then just like we get to it, the fights like that, especially Din Djarin has with the Imperial super commandos is like, yeah, just whoever designed these fights, just incredible.
Well, before we get to that, the thing that kind of riles up Moff Gideon as much as anything else is we have R5 who is also deactivating the barrier shields as well on there. But there's a great sequence where R5 is discovered by one of the Imperial mouse droids, which you can remember from the first Star Wars on there as well. And yeah, I thought that was a nice little touch. But effectively, what we do have is Din Djarin discovering the plan with the clones, which is neatly wrapped up, where there's a series of Moff Gideon clones appear to be pretty near to completion at this point. There's a bit where one of the clones awakens and Grogu jumps back, and I got very big Alien vibes, like just watching this particular bit, and I think possibly the layout of the room as well. But what Din Djarin does is he overrides the control panel and blows it all up because the cylinders explode and all of the clones are killed in there as well. How did you feel about them wrapping up this storyline this way?
I felt surprised more than anything else. Like, I didn't want some cheap, like, post credit scene where like a hand comes out of one of those tanks or anything like that. Like, okay, we don't need it anymore. I don't know if Moff Gideon himself is actually gone forever, but like we don't need like force wielding Moff Gideon clones out there in Beskar armor. I think that's a little bit too OP, for characters to be. So like it's fine. But I did thought it was like a little too neat. I thought they were gonna maybe play out this storyline a little bit longer, or they could have like referred more to it throughout the season, I think, and then that would have felt more natural, that particular scene. But you can't win everything, JP.
No, you can't. It's also fits and bursts when they mentioned it, because obviously we've got the heavy episode with Dr. Pershing as well, and Elia Kane. So you've got where it's you're very much thinking about the kind of cloning aspect, and then doesn't really come into effect for another like kind of 2 to 3 episodes on there as well. But we do also have another moment where it's kind of like aside from the battles, where the captain and scout, they're 2 of the Mandalorians who had been effectively living on Mandalore, and they're taken to a cave where they've managed to cultivate a load of gardens on there, as the phrase they use is life persists in there as well. And we do also then get after this, we have Bo-Katan using the Darksaber to using the flying Mandalorian army back into the base on there.
So those caves, I don't know about you. Do you remember Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan?
Yes.
See, there's that part where like Khan thinks he's stranded Kirk and the landing party on an asteroid, but then Carol Marcus, the scientist who created the Genesis project, takes him. Oh, you're gonna starve on this. I'm gonna strand you here. You're gonna starve because there's no food. You're gonna run out of food. No, she built a freaking garden, a Garden of Eden inside this asteroid. And that, for whatever reason, when I saw this, I thought of that scene in Star Trek. Yeah, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. So
that's a pretty good shout.
Yeah, I don't think, and I always think these aren't accidents. I think there's like, hey, remember that thing they did in Star Trek II? Let's just use that. Yeah.
Well, it's and anything that refers to Wrath of Khan as well, which for me is always like the Star Trek film that I love the most.
Yeah.
Out of those. But then back when it was very much the theory of like the even numbered ones were good and the odd numbers ones were generally bad. That was always like the kind of seen as the prevailing logic for a while, certainly around that point in time.
Now, I'm pretty sure Star Trek 4 is kind of shit, isn't it?
That's the one where they go to the States. Earth.
With the whales.
Is that the one with the whales?
That's the one. No, three is Search for Spock, which is okay. It's more like a glorified TV episode.
Yeah.
4 is Voyage Home, which is like with the whales, which is not bad. I actually like that film. 5 is shit though, and 6 is First Contact with that shit. If you count 6 as like the Next Generation original cast one, which they don't really do, which is kind of shit. So
that's 6? Is that? I want to say that's 8. I want to say there's something called Star Trek 6: Undiscovered Country. I'm doing all this without cheating.
With God and Spock's brother. Yeah, that's shit too. That is complete shit.
It feels that way on there. I mean, I have to say, I enjoyed the Chris Pine in Star Trek. I actually can't.
I like the first 2. I might be one of the few people I know who likes Into Darkness. I love Benedict Cumberbatch.
Into Darkness is fine.
I love Benedict Cumberbatch of that thing.
So here we go. Star Trek 5 is the final frontier. Star Trek 4 is Voyage Home. Star Trek 6 is Undiscovered Country. Then we get Star Trek Generations 7, then First Contact, then Insurrection, then Nemesis.
Okay.
As well.
And First Contact's the only good one. Then that's with James. Yeah. As the guy who creates warp speed. That's a good one. Generations is shit. Nemesis, Insurrection are shit too.
Yeah. And then you've got the rebooted ones, of which there still is a plan for a 4th one on there. But I have to say, I kind of thought they're all pretty enjoyable for what they are.
Fun. They're fun.
The J.J. Abrams and Justin Lin ones are like perfectly... Like it's not, and having seen the Dungeons and Dragons film recently, I was like reminded by it with Chris Pine as well. But yeah,
Chris Pine does not do anything. I feel like now Chris Pine is one of those actors who's like, I'm comfortable. I will not say yes to everything. I will say things that I think are fun or good. And I think with Dungeons and Dragons, he thought this is fun. I have not seen it, but apparently everyone I know who's seen it says it's a fun movie.
It is. It's not. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect or anything else. Like, don't go in there with like massive expectations. But if, like me, it was relatively low and it was about taking the kids to do something over the Easter break, and it was like we went along and see that and thought, well, that was perfectly fine. It's very much a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe to it. That's really what they've gone for. And another actor as well, Hugh Grant, as someone who is at that point of, I don't care about being a star. I'm just going to go out there and have fun. Like, that's really what he seems to be doing. And there's a lot less, and he's enjoying it. You can tell he's just sort of going with it because it's very, very, it's just a lot. It's quite nice and light as a film, Dungeons and Dragons. You don't need to think too much about it necessarily afterwards as well.
I was an actor. I'd want that kind of career.
Yeah.
It's like I reached that point in your post 50s where it's like, I just want to have fun. Like, Ray Fiennes has that kind of a career.
Yeah. And Michelle Rodriguez is enjoying this as well.
Yeah, Ray Fiennes does not care about being a star or being in massive blockbusters or having box office. He just wants to have fun as an actor and do good roles, and then occasionally do a film with what's his name? The guy who makes all the Kingsman movies.
What's his name? It's not Simon. Someone I should know this.
Oh no, I forgot to. I like those movies.
He was a producer on these. I'm gonna be able to bring it up now in a second on here. It's Matthew Vaughn.
Matthew Vaughn. Do you work with guys like Matthew Vaughn? It's like that. Like Colin Firth. Colin Firth is another good example of that.
Yeah. And they all get to do this, and they all have a cracking good laugh at it. Hey, heresy us talking about Star Trek and all other stuff, and we haven't even gone into the the big boss battles, which is really the next point from it as well. After destroying the clones, we have Moff Gideon coming out, confronting Din Djarin and Grogu, saying that his clones were going to be perfect. They were improved by the Force on there. And then we end up with the big boss fight, which what you basically have is, like you say, it's close up kind of action at points here as well. But the idea of Moff Gideon has just developed a suit that is so strong at this stage as well. He ends up like kind of kicking shit out of him. There's no other way of really saying it on here as well. Then you've got the Praetorian Guards come out. And I know you wanted to see for a little while on there. They end up beating him down as well. And then Grogu comes out, who's obviously inside IG-11 at this point, pressing no rapidly. And and use, or I should say IG-12, and then using IG-12 as a distraction to kind of get away. And then, you can see Din Djarin wanting to run after him, and then gets basically dragged back by Moff Gideon there as well, until Bo-Katan arrives to effectively take over, to give a hot tag. He's got that Ricky Morton heat, using wrestling parlance there. Din Djarin tags in Robert Gibson, or Bo-Katan, as he runs off to have a scrap with the Praetorian Guard, who are chasing around Grogu on this as well. I mean, it's funny. It's a good way of having, like, you've got the action sequences between, like, these two fights going on, because you've got Bo-Katan with the Darksaber taking on Moff Gideon, whilst at the same time Grogu is able to kind of, at this point, like, moving freely around and evading the Praetorian Guard, until Din Djarin gets into there as well. So you've got this kind of, there's a great line from Bo-Katan where when she does save Din Djarin, of "Go save your kid." Mm-hmm. And then we do have Grogu using the Force on the Praetorian Guards. How did you feel these sequences worked?
Well, I got total Shaw Brothers vibes from the way this is structured. From Din Djarin, okay, he wants to get to the command center, but he has to go through that corridor with all those, with the ray shields, and then he gets R5 to open them in an homage to R2-D2 and Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. But then he has to fight each set of guys, and he collects weapons from them because he's unarmed, right? That's very, like, like, I don't know, Kid with the Golden Arm and Clan of the White Lotus, Shaw Brothers style, where, like, the hero has to, like, kind of there's an escalation of the level of opponent he has to fight till he gets to the big boss, which would be Moff Gideon. So he fights these guys, he collects weapons from them. Okay, now he's ready to fight Moff Gideon. He fights Moff Gideon, and then this is like Pai Mei, like in the Clan of the White Lotus. If you're familiar with Shaw Brothers movies, he's the guy with the white beard, and usually in these movies, and he's like master of the mantis style crane. Anyways, I'm diverging here. So then you get the Praetorian Guards come in, and they're like the second level of bosses, and then and then they do that, and then because really the boss fight you want to have is Bo-Katan versus Moff Gideon, and then you get that. But then like they wrap up the thing with the Praetorian Guards, which was awesome. Grogu helps him. He's like, oh, look at all this shit he learned from Luke. Awesome.
Yeah.
I was just hoping if he had pulled out fucking Yoda's lightsaber, because he secretly nicked it off of Luke or something like that. He kept that as well, along with the fucking mesh armor, and he just whipped that fucking thing out, and he just started fucking going fucking like a blender on these fucking guys. I would have like fucking lost my mind. Like, I think I would have been so happy and gone into a catatonic state or something like that. They wrapped that shit up. Okay, Bo-Katan. Here's the other thing I felt was really kind of, whoa, they just wrapped this up, was the Darksaber. He destroys the Darksaber, right? He crushes it in her hands. And I'm just like, but I think rewatching it really makes a lot of sense when he says, you Mandalorians are so lost, so weak you're so weak because once you lose your trinkets you're lost. And she says, no, we're stronger together. And that's when fucking Din Djarin just comes out and he starts blasting him. It's like, okay, now they're gonna work together to defeat this fucking guy. And it's so, and it's including Grogu. It's beautiful. Like the three of them are fighting Moff Gideon together, and it makes sense because they all have stakes against him, right? Yeah. It's all like, it's like if like Hangman Page and fucking Kenny, and then all of a sudden Colt Cabana showed up, and they fought like fucking CM Punk or something like that. But here's the thing with that, I'd be cheering CM Punk. Fuck those other guys.
It'd be an awesome angle. I'd be like, go on, Phil, you moody bastard. You've sort of summarized it really nicely. Like, they all have stakes against Moff Gideon. They all have personal reasons for wanting to do this. And then as this is going on, you've got Axe Woves shooting out the window and rocketing away. Which I just thought, I remember when watching it first time around, I was like, okay, at what point do you jump out of like a moving plane? I thought that if it goes, when planes would land.
But if you have a rocket pack, if you have a jetpack, that's a lot easier than a parachute, I think.
It is, yeah.
So.
You're thinking he still has to time it well because he could, in theory, just jump out into a load of flames. But he spoiler alert, he doesn't.
You know what this reminds me of? Have you ever played the Force Unleashed 2?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay, so, spoiler alert. There's a part where they have to go to Camino. Okay, the Rebel Alliance is going to invade. Yeah. This is all legend stuff. None of this is canon anymore. But the main character, Starkiller, he's joined with the Rebel Alliance. They know Darth Vader is on fucking Camino doing some bullshit, so they got to get to Camino. But it's surrounded by like, what is it surrounded? It's protected by a shield or something like that. Anyways, they drop a fucking Star Cruiser on the fucking planet to like just to break the defenses of like whatever. Is it a shield? I can't remember if it's a shield or if it's like a blockade of other ships. Anyways, this is what reminds it. Axel's driving the cruiser into the base is that's what it reminded me of. It was like the scene in the Force Unleashed 2. I'll find a link for it on YouTube. I'll send it to you, JP, later on.
Please do.
So it's great because like just Starkiller says, evacuate everyone off this ship. I'm gonna get you through this thing. And the Jedi guy in there goes like, then he realizes, oh shit, everyone get off this fucking cruiser. Anyways, when you see, you'll understand what I mean.
All right, so mate, send it over. When the little man's calming down, I think I'm starting to expand the thing I'm gonna be able to watch on here. But what do you think in terms of, because basically what we've got at this point is that as the ship goes in, it hits the base, it blows. You know, we see Moff Gideon burnt to cinders. Oh, you'd say that. I know you're going to come back with a little theory on that one as well. But Grogu, rather similar to Groot, actually, use it in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, using the Force in this case to shield them from the flames.
So you have not watched Rebels yet?
No, I haven't.
But
not yet.
I think this is a direct homage to something that happens in the last season of Rebels. I can't say anymore because it would just ruin like the emotional weight of what this scene is. But this is an homage to something that happens in the last season of Rebels, and when you see it, you will know what I mean.
Okay. It's the next thing to get on. I had. My partner was talking about, actually, I need to watch Clone Wars, don't I? Even before this, because when she liked the look of the Ahsoka trailer, it was like, yeah, we need to watch Clone Wars.
There is an Ahsoka
and Rebels.
There is an Ahsoka playlist on Disney Plus. If you just want to watch the Ahsoka centric episodes, you can just do that. There is a playlist for that on Disney Plus.
Fair play.
It's like they have Mandalorian culture episodes that are all collated into this playlist on Disney Plus. I'm pretty sure I have seen the Ahsoka playlist for Clone Wars, where you just get the Ahsoka centric things, the stuff on where she becomes connected to Morai, the stuff where she joins up with Anakin, and the things where her relationship with Barriss Offee and all this shit. You can just watch those and then just casually watch everything else that's not connected to Ahsoka. You do not need to know 100% everything about Ahsoka in Clone Wars before you watch Rebels. I think if you watch Rebels and then you go back and watch Clone Wars, it's fine. It's like watching the prequels after you watch the original trilogy.
Yeah,
it's like that. I guarantee that's the feeling you'll get. So if Vicky's concerned, no, just you can watch the Ahsoka playlist, but you can watch Rebels and then go back and watch things in Clone Wars. It's like, what is that? Okay, I'm gonna watch this episode. There you go.
And I was having a debate with my son today, who wants me to go back and watch the Solo film again as well, because he goes, actually, that's well worth reappraising.
I love that film.
Yeah,
I do. I think it's.
So there's a lot. Vicky says there's a lot you pick up next time second time round watching it that I would have missed the first time.
It's as good as Rogue One in its own way. In its own way, I feel it's as good as Rogue One. Not the same way as Rogue One, in its own way. There's a lot of things that I like. I love the train heist thing in that. I love Emilia Clarke in that. I think she's great. I think Chewbacca's fucking awesome. Donald Glover as Lando. Holy shit. He does a fantastic job. Phoebe Waller-Cates as L3. Holy shit. I think that film is great. Despite all its production troubles, like it's great.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing about it. The production troubles kind of dominate it, don't they? And it's Ron Howard probably, you had a bit of a thankless task, really. And I think there was possibly a point of, I don't know, like it just felt like the timing was kind of off. that maybe if it was something that had come around, if it came around now, Solo in its current incarnation, people would be absolutely fine with it.
Yeah,
there's been a bit of distance from recent films. Whereas I think at that point in time, it felt like it was coming on the back of Rogue One as well. So it was like, oh, okay, and then always wanting to do I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah. I recommend it. It's fun. It's a fun, like, if you read the comics, watching that movie again, because a lot of elements from the comics are permeating throughout the mainstream Star Wars comics from Marvel right now. Like, I won't say what, but it's just like, oh, that's from Solo. Oh, that's okay. That's from that's elements from the Solo movie. Cool.
That's cool.
So yeah.
Well, in terms of wrapping up the episode, for what after this, we've got Moff Gideon dead in commas on here, but we go back to the base of the Living Waters where we've got the armorer doing a baptism. Basically, is what it is on there.
It's the same kid. It's Rangar.
It is Rangar.
Yeah. So we come full circle from the first scene of the first episode, which is his baptism that was interrupted by the giant, crocodile monster on that whatever planet they were on, and then he gets to finish his baptism in the actual living waters of Mandalore.
Well, we have Din Djarin putting Grogu at the edge to also take the creed, but the armorer says he's too young, cannot speak, so he must remain a foundling. Only his parents can grant permission if they're even alive. But then we have him adopting Grogu as his own. And then the armorer writes in song that Din Djarin has adopted Grogu as his son. So he is now Din Grogu, Mandalorian apprentice.
Yeah.
Chance of this is the way.
So I guess Din Djarin is like Japanese. Where I was
thinking that.
Djarin is his first name, is given name, is Din is his family name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Din must be the family name.
So Mandalore has like these are European style names and these are Asian style names. Maybe that's how it works. Which makes, I mean, we can't think of like everything is monocultural on a planet. Like there has to be some differences regionally of sects of the same civilization, I suppose.
Also, Grogu Djarin is just a bit more of a mouthful, I think, than Din Grogu.
Din Grogu.
Practical way.
I guess there's no social services on Mandalore either, because like they just, he's your kid now.
Yeah, there isn't like an adoption process. It's just like, oh, there you are, he's yours, which we have on there. But the armor then tells Din Djarin to leave Mandalore, take your apprentice on his journeys, as your teacher did for you. And then we have Grogu looking into the living wars, sensing the mythosaur's presence, who, spoiler alert, isn't present in this episode. I thought that might be something that we see. It will be something we see pretty much, I'll imagine, in season 4 on there. At the Great Forge, the armorer gives Bo-Katan a flaming torch, and she lights the Great Forge to thunderous applause, which even without the dark saber, which again sort of neatly wraps up in terms of the leadership arc of Bo-Katan there as well. What did you think of, like, in terms of these sequences, the final sequences on Mandalore?
I thought it was a nice wrap up to what we've seen starting basically in season 2, of like the kind of the contrast you have with the like Bo-Katan's Mandalorians versus the Creed, the people who follow the Creed, and that they're finally united on Mandalore. So I like that aspect of it, because it's like, okay, this is what we kind of like started in season 1, really developed in season 2, and now throughout this season, this is like the crux of the thematic crux of this season was the Mandalorian culture coming together. So we had that in the battle with Din Djarin and Bo-Katan and Grogu against Moff Gideon. Now we see it happening. Okay, they're going to rebuild Mandalore. They're going to rebuild their civilization. I'm kind of curious to see is like, okay, so you're going to have, if we have likened this to like Jewish culture. So you're going to have your super Orthodox Hasidic Jews, which are like the Creed Mandalorians, and then you have like your, we're Jewish, but we're not like, we're not super Orthodox about it.
It's culturally, I think it gets described as like kind of cultural Judaism as opposed to like religious Judaism.
That's what I think. That's a great way to put it then. So we have cultural Mandalorians and religious Mandalorians, and then I think it'll be interesting to see how they, live together. And like, yeah, we don't want another civil war. That's the one thing we do not want to have. We have to be strong together. We don't want our culture to be like what it has been for the last 50 years or however long it's been. And so, yeah, I think that if you explore those things in future seasons, if we, whatever we get for season 4, I think that'd be very fascinating.
Well, we have one final bit of sort of loose ends to tying up at the end of this episode, where we have Din Djarin and Grogu going to meet Captain Teva. Paul Sun-Hyung Lee at the Starfighter bar at the Adelphi. Sounds great. I'm sure there's a place in Liverpool called the Adelphi as well.
I was just hoping they should have got the Nemo song from Andor for this.
Should have done,
because it's very tropical and beachy and looks. But there's no stormtroopers to fuck your day up.
No, exactly. We go fucking desperately south, doesn't it, for Andor on there? We have Din Djarin offering his services as the bounty hunter, but he's going to be hunting down Imperial remnants as an independent contractor. He wants to watch so he doesn't get a job with WWE because he'll lose all his health benefits or he'll have to pay for everything himself. But it's also the fact he says that he'll be more selective in the jobs that he chooses on there as well. And he asks for a scrap assassin droid's head above the bar on there as well. And then we have him going to Navarro, where he meets Greef Karga, gives him a deed to his new cabin that he promised, and then he gifts them the rebuilt IG-11 as the new marshal, again, which kind of ties up the thing that they needed a marshal on Navarro. Well, now they've got one in there. And then we have really quite a nice final shot with him sitting on the porch, relaxing, watching Grogu use the Force and pulling a frog out of the pond before no doubt eating it.
Yeah, it's very. I'm not gonna say. I don't want to say John Ford Western, because usually it's like Din Djarin would then be outside the shot would be out. He'd be outside the house and the camera's inside the house to show like he doesn't belong here. It's not John Ford. It's a very Western trope of like the happy ending for our hero. John Ford doesn't usually have happy endings for his heroes in his Western films. I feel definitely not The Searchers, but. I liked it. I like how it ellipses into the final shot of Grogu. I thought that was very cute. And then it ends, and I'm like, okay, but again, it felt very series finale, not season finale. But I don't believe this is like the end of it. Like I think there's too much that Favreau wants to do. Probably. I can see him wanting to do another 2 seasons as long as Pedro Pascal is up for it, which I can't imagine he's not. I have to imagine this is probably, an easy gig for him. Like,
well, you were talking about the role of Lateef Crowder, for example.
Yeah, and Bren Wayne, they do all the physical heavy lifting, and he has to show up for the acting part, and he just has to do ADR afterwards for all.
I was going
to
say
he's not in, but this has afforded him, like. I'm sure a financial security where he could do whatever he wants for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And as long as it's still fun for him, I can't imagine like him not wanting to do it. If it was me, I know he's a big Star Wars fan. I don't know like what his passion is like. If it was me, I'd be like, I'm never giving this job up. However long you want me to be this character, I don't have to physically like do all the stunts or anything like that. But like cool, I'll do it. Like I'm all on board for this. So I think it really depends on what Pedro wants to do, and then we'll see what happens with the Filoni feature film that they announced at Star Wars Celebration in London.
That's it.
And then we'll go further, because I feel like we're not getting season 4 till after Ahsoka, till after the Filoni film, the Filoni New Republic film, and then that's when Mandalorian will come back. But I'm okay with that because we are getting so much content from Disney as it is. Like, I'm okay waiting for a couple of years for a new season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm exactly the same way. I think the lack of content isn't really so much of an issue. I mean, there's other things that have been launched in the last week. I know there's the Young Jedi Adventures, and obviously Star Wars Visions season 2 as well on there, which they've had. So and we're going to have Ahsoka as well. I mean, I think like you mentioned it there, there's this very clear way they want to work this into the sequels and tying it all in and making sure that it's a case where they've set up the precursors of the Force sensitive clones, the precursors to Snoke, and sort of the rebuilt Emperor Palpatine as well. We've got the Imperial Shadow Council. We know about Grand Admiral Thrawn, even if we haven't seen him yet as well. Could you see Din Djarin making an appearance on the Ahsoka series?
Yeah, here's my thing that I get when he's having the conversation with Carson Teva about I'll do selective jobs, certain, like, I'll have adventures with Grogu. I think this opens up for Disney to basically now put Mandalorian novels out there. Make a Mandalorian, original story comic book series for Marvel. Because right now Marvel only publishes adaptations of the TV episodes for the Mandalorian.
Right.
They do not do any original stories because they don't want to. They consider these to be whatever they publish to be canon. You cannot contradict things that are going to happen in here. But if you have, like, saying he's going to have these side adventures that don't affect, the canon of, like, whatever's going to happen in season 4. Oh, he's going to hunt down this Imperial Remnant guy. You can write a novel about that. You can do a comic book about that, right? These are things that you could do. So, like, with Marvel right now, what they do with, like, the main Star Wars characters, Skywalker, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, like, it's set between, right now, the main Star Wars series is set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So Han's and Carbonite, but Lando has joined the cast. And then you have characters, like, you have the parents of Poe Dameron as main characters in the Star Wars series. You have Laura Dern's character, Amilyn Holdo. She's appearing in the young version of her character is appearing in this series, along with Luke and Vader, and it's cool. But, like, it's not contradicting because they have the map of the movies that it's not going to contradict anything that happens in Return of the Jedi or The Force Awakens or whatever. So that's good. Marvel writers have that luxury of having this map of what they can't contradict. Okay, I can't do this because it's going to contradict that. With Mandalorian, they didn't know, probably, like, oh, can we make some books and TV and like a comic book? No, because Favreau has an idea, and there's no side stories with this character. It's all one continuous linear story through these 3 seasons plus Book of Boba Fett. Okay, but now we have his status being he can have these side adventures that are not connected to the larger lore story of the Mandalorian. Okay, now comic books can be made. Now novels can be made. And I think we're going to hear announcements of this stuff, like Star Wars Celebration. I think they're doing one. I think they're doing one in Anaheim again. They always do one in Anaheim, right? I think.
Yeah.
So London, like, is just like, okay, this is the spring one. The summer one's probably going to be in California. And I think they're going to make a big announcement, like, in the publishing initiative that Din Djarin and Grogu are going to be in books, original story novels and stuff like that. So that's where I think we're going to get our fix of Din Djarin and Grogu, is in publishing, the publishing side of Disney. And then we're going to be satisfied on screen with The Acolyte, with Ahsoka, with the new films, with all the animated content coming out. So
Andor series 2.
Oh, yeah. God, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, exactly. And I think it's that idea of needing a bit of a break as well. I don't think it's ever a bad thing. I think it's that idea of allowing things to kind of go, okay, what are we going to, take a bit of time on it. I think it's the idea of build up the anticipation as well. There isn't, before, when The Mandalorian came out, it felt like there was very much a lot of pressure on it as, like, the big major Star Wars TV property in order to be this kind of success. But they have got other, I mean, obviously they've had, in terms of Andor and in terms of The Acolyte, and, like you say, the map that Marvel have always had, that's been built effectively, hasn't it, by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. So they're like, it does feel almost at this stage that they've got, it's a well-oiled machine. And I think sometimes well-oiled machines can be quite unfussy and not always sort of spectacular, but it does the job of getting things from A to B, and I think that's possibly what this season 3 needed to be. It's like, okay, we need to kind of think about how this is going to affect Ahsoka, for example, how this is going to tie into the sequel films. So there's, yeah, I mean, did you think for yourself in terms of, I mean, were you expecting a post-credit sequence? Have to ask this question because I know I was.
Yeah, I was for sure. But yeah,
when you said it's like a series finale, that's the kind of thing that if there's a post-credit sequence, you're thinking, oh,
I know it's not a series finale because
finale.
he kept his helmet on. He kept his helmet on. So I feel like if they're gonna do some kind of series finale with him, it's gonna be without the helmet's gonna come off.
Yeah. Definitely has to. But yeah, it's you know, the next major series, certainly live action series, is Ahsoka that's coming out. We're looking at that. Is that in August at this stage?
Yeah, hopefully it's all finished and the writer strike, is not going to affect it. Which, by the way, I wholly support the writer strike going on in Hollywood right now because it's
been a long time coming.
It's bullshit. Like streaming versus network, and like they're turning streaming into a gig economy. You pay these people what they're fucking worth, which is a lot of money. Because like without this, streaming does not exist. What the writers making this content, where you're gonna put fucking all these fucking bullshit reality shows? Those are all fake, written any bullshit things anyway. So like you need writers for that. Those garbage reality show things. Well, reality shows are like our death matches, like the equivalent of TV death matches for me, JP.
I am, for the most part, like there are the odds. There's one for wrestling I've mentioned earlier, watching AEW All Access. But then there's also, I don't think you get I don't know if you get a Canadian version of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which I have watched for like the last.
Probably. We have like Canadian Big Brother and fucking.
Yeah. It's kind of like very much what you think of D-list celebrities eating a kangaroo's arsehole on television. And you're just thinking, okay, I didn't see that happening. I didn't think this was going to be with some weird. There's people on it from like Coronation Street. And then there's who's like some of the people. Janice Dickinson is on it as well.
I feel like reality TV shows are generally the degradation of the human race. So I refuse to watch it. I'd rather watch like fucking a Gaspar Noé film more than I would rather watch a fucking reality show.
Wow. And normally you need a stiff drink for watching a Gaspar.
I would rather watch Irreversible again than watch fucking Big Brother.
I needed a pint after that. After Irreversible, I was like, oh, Christ, what have I watched?
And I don't want to watch Irreversible again.
No, I never want to sit through that again. It's like watching Requiem for a Dream. The first time I went once is enough. I don't need to ever rewatch this again. So when I bought the DVD when it came out, I was like, what a waste of money that was.
I give it to Maddie. Give it to Maddie.
Because it's physical media, of course.
Right.
But there's never going to be a situation where you go, do you know what? I'm up for watching Requiem for a Dream tonight. Just think I'm in the mood. Like, there is no mood. That last half an hour is one of the bleakest bits of cinema in recent.
But cinemas I do want to watch again. Denis Villeneuve.
Oh yes. Well, and this leads us on to something that we did want to talk about as well, which I saw there was the teaser for the trailer that had originally come out, and it was the first time we'd seen some of the images, but we got a full-length trailer for Dune Part 2, which is coming out November 3rd. On this as well, it won't be coming on to Max as well at the same time. I'm pretty sure this is getting a proper cinema release.
IMAX. It was shot in IMAX, so I have to see it in IMAX multiple times in IMAX. Probably, it's gonna hit my wallet really hard, but that's okay.
What did you think of this as a trailer? Did it deliver for what you wanted?
Yeah, because like the things that we want to see in the second half of this story, which is the second half of the book, the first Dune book, like the way, if you've read the book, it's divided into the buildup of House Atreides moving to Arrakis and the conflict and the conspiracy with the Emperor and House Harkonnen to destroy House Atreides. That happens. Then this second film is Paul Atreides becoming Muad'Dib, the Messiah of the Fremen, and the guy who's going to turn them. In the books and in the first David Lynch version of this film, they use the word jihad a lot.
Yeah.
Because Frank Herbert, did a brilliant thing where he incorporated, you know, all cultures into the greater Dune universe. Like there's elements of Asian cultures, of Muslim cultures, of Buddhism, of Islam, in these religions of Catholicism and stuff like that. He was a brilliant man. It's Frank Herbert. So we don't use that word in these movies because I think it's too loaded. But he is going to start a universal jihad starting on Arrakis, and we're going to see the beginning of him becoming this person who's going to become a religious zealot leader. But it's interesting because he's the hero of our film.
Yes.
And it's going to be interesting to see how Denis Villeneuve, and you see aspects of like that kind of like contrasting idea of like our hero of the film is going to become what we normally think would be the villain of a film, which is the religious leader of a band of religious zealots, So that'll be interesting. I mean, from a fan point of view, we're going to see worms. We're going to see worm riding because we see that's Paul's initiation to becoming a full member of the Fremen tribe.
Quite a large part of the trailer, like a good minute.
Yeah.
First minute is spent just on him learning to ride the worms, which I imagine is going to happen near the very beginning of which apparently the second film more or less starts from the very end of the first film, where he says desert power.
That's right. We got our first look at Princess Irulan, played by Florence Pugh.
Yes.
We have yet to see
Emperor Shaddam.
Emperor Shaddam IV, which would be played by Christopher Walken. We see our first images of Fade Rotha, played by Austin Butler.
Mm-hmm.
And I think seems like they're really building him up to be like, okay, he's gonna have like a massive main event with Paul at the end of this film.
Shaped of his eyebrows as well, isn't he? He's like feels like I think they all do that, right? Hairless.
All the Harkonnens all do that. Layla Seydoux as Lady Margot Fenring, who's a big character in the book. She's not, and I think in the miniseries, but she's not in the David Lynch film. They cut her character out, and her husband, Count Fenring, who I think is being played by what's his name? He was in the Watchmen TV show. He's the leader in the Hulk. Oh, he's a good actor. He's in a lot of Coen Brothers films.
Just having a look and seeing if I can find the cast list.
The leader. He's the leader in the Marvel movies.
Okay. So
they don't have his name in there. Like what character he's playing. Tim Blake Nelson. Sorry.
Tim Blake Nelson.
Tim Blake Nelson's his cast. They don't say what character he's playing, but I have to say he's probably going to be this character, Count Fenring. I'm looking forward to seeing him finally in this trailer. But like we have like Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica, where she's full Sedian, which is the Fremen word for Reverend Mother. She's got all these tattoos. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? We saw those tattoos in a prophecy dream vision Paul has. We don't have any images of Paul's sister, Aaliyah.
Yeah.
Apparently, this is going to be a complete CGI character. Like they're gonna like she's gonna be like full on fucking Gollum or something like that.
I don't know how I feel about that. If I'm honest with you, you could just cast a little girl.
No, apparently, like the take is like this is like such a weird looking character or something like that. Well, I have faith in Denis Villeneuve, so I'll wait till I see it. But I am so excited, JP. I am so fucking excited because apparently there's that image where he's standing on a cliff and you see all these Fremen. I bet you they were all extras. Yeah. I bet there's none of that was fucking CGI. I bet that you just hired a ton of fucking extras to be in the desert and like shoot that.
Alicia Witt. Played
Oh.
Alia in the David Lynch film.
Yep.
Well, he is the Kwisatz Haderach. I remember her saying
Haderach, yeah.
And there is also on YouTube as well as that really great re-edited version of the Lynch film with all the available footage in where they put it into much more.
So you should. I would recommend watching there's a bootleg out there of the NBC miniseries version, directed by Alan Smithy because David Lynch refused to have his name attached to it. But the prologue to that, which is like the Butlerian Jihad. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so good. it's out there, JP. I know, man, with your infinite skills using the internet, can find this version of the David Lynch June. That was an NBC miniseries. I highly recommend it.
I need to find this out straight away. Need to find out. I mean, I know it's coming up with the sci-fi series and the rest of it as well.
It's better than the sci-fi series. Like, I didn't think the sci-fi series was that very, very good, to be quite honest with you. So this TV version of the Lynch film is great. Come on. Young Patrick Stewart is in this fucking thing. It's amazing. You know,
it's an incredible cast.
And Sting. Fuck. I'm not talking about Steve Borden. I'm talking about Gordon Sumner. Sting, the singer. He's great in this. And just Patrick Stewart being angry. I've never seen Patrick Stewart being angry because I'm so used to him being Picard. I'm like, oh my God, he wants to kill people. That's I can't believe I'm seeing Patrick Stewart saying that.
And you've got all the usual kind of Lynchian regulars there as well. I mean, in terms, Jack Nance on there as well. Brad Dourif is on there. Everett McGill,
Stilgar. That's right.
Jack Nance is just like phenomenal on there.
And I just like saying his name, Jurgen Prochnow, as later Atreides.
And I think one of the fascinating things about this is it's just such a. I think I love about that 80s version of Dune, like as bad as it is, and it's like a doomed. It was always doomed to failure. Particularly, you see this for so many big projects around that point in time. But my God, it's ambitious.
Yes.
Like what Lynch is doing, and I think in terms of set design, it is some of the finest set design that you will see in cinema around that period of time. And there's enough, because it's Lynch, the way the Harkonnens, there's much more of an S&M edge to them than what you're going to see in the Denis Villeneuve versions as well. But I think there's points where they're coming in with one of the at the very beginning, they come in with one of the Guild Navigators.
That's right. We'll see the Guild Navigators in this.
We'll see the Guild Navigators.
We have not seen them in this trailer.
Now, they need to be all CGI, to be honest with you.
Yes,
there's no other way of getting around that on there.
You know what's funny is that Lynch, we'll tie this back into Star Wars, Lynch was George Lucas's first choice to direct Return of the Jedi because he thought The Elephant Man was amazing. And he said, he approached David Lynch and said, would you like to direct the Return of the Jedi? And David Lynch turned it down because I think you'll interfere too much with my creative process and I won't be able to make the film I want to make. Well, guess what? Guess who ended up working for? Dino fucking De Laurentiis, who did the exact fucking thing that he feared George Lucas would do.
Who all he saw was Dune, massively popular, sci-fi is in, we're going to have our own Star Wars franchise, without clearly ever reading this and not realizing the amount of work. And I think this is the thing that we like. This feels like, as a piece of intellectual property for Warner Brothers Discovery on here. Like, this is a film where the success for it, and I think there'll be a degree of pressure that this will be the film that gets rewarded with Oscars, even though it won Oscars first time round for mainly SFX and I think it was for sound as well, and had nominations for like adaptation and whatnot. This is a film that you would expect to have that kind of success. There's been the troubled production history with the Bene Gesserit TV series that we're going to be having on Max as well. I know they've obviously got the options for the other books post June as well, where we're talking more about Paul gone bad at that point as well. But it's exciting because I think this is the kind of sci-fi that in 2023 people are going to be clamoring more for. I say to someone who's just started watching Silo on Apple TV, also starring Rebecca Ferguson. And you can see that this is something you go, okay, this is very good because it's very much big ideas. And if there's one thing that Dune has is big ideas and scope and ambition and stuff that is,
it's like the 70s era of science fiction where you want, it's not so much spectacle, it's more like story and ideas, and like what sci-fi does best is like, point a mirror at current society and saying this is what will end up like if we do not change things now. That's what the 70s were all about, especially with nuclear war and nuclear disasters and things like that. And we're getting that with climate stuff. I think Silo is a good example of that. I think also Dune has elements of that as well in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's always has, with Frank Herbert being like very interested in ecology and stuff. I think there's like Dune as an IP is very rife because there's so many books because of the legacy of like the Frank Herbert's son Brian Herbert writing prequels to this, the Butler and Jihad prequels. They could do something with those if they wanted to. They can do the sequels, which they finished basically the stories Frank Herbert did not finish. He wrote the first 6 books, but there's 2 more books that finish that saga, which I would recommend people read. I like them. The only book I do not think is that great that's in the Paul Atreides, the Atreides family saga, is God Emperor of Dune, which is a bit of a slog to get through. That's the 4th book. So there's Dune, Dune Messiah, and which will be the 3rd part of this film trilogy, and then Children of Dune, God Emperor of Dune, then Heretics of Dune, which is awesome, by the way, and Chapter House Dune, which is awesome. Those last 2 books are fucking. I thought, oh fuck, are the rest of these books going to be a slog? I get to Heretics, I'm in like 4 chapters, and I'm like, oh my god, this thing is fucking amazing. And then Chapter House, oh my god, it's just as good because like there's a lot of jumping in time. Like, okay, this part of the story is done. We're gonna jump 500 years, 1,000 years, like this, and we get to Heretics and Chapter House. Amazing.
Need to get round to these because I'm genuinely excited of what the potential for this is going to be like, and especially because 1984 was not the right time to be launching a Dune film to an audience that has gotten used to very much the era of the popcorn summer blockbuster.
Well, I mean, were they ready were they ready for Alejandro Jodorowsky's version that he wanted to do? That was going to be 7 hours long.
Oh God, no one's ready for a Jodorowsky film. I mean, as someone who's watched like The Holy Mountain, I'm trying to think of the other one I saw. El Topo. Yeah. It's just like that kind of mad, what really falls into the classic cult cinema, midnight screenings and the like, and you're just watching this going like, I'm completely off my box. What the hell am I watching? Like, this is just fucking lunacy.
I had a friend who said, WH, I took some acid and I watched The Holy Mountain. I'm like, I don't want to. Yeah, don't.
Bit of a waste.
Yeah, I like.
You don't really.
He also saw the most fucked up anime ever, Legend of the Overfiend on acid. I'm like, what are you doing to your mind? Like, just seeing those without acid is one thing, and just being on acid is one thing. You saw fucking the fucking Holy Mountain, and then you also saw fucking Legend of the Overfiend on fucking acid. Oh my god, these are gonna haunt you when you're 60 years old. I guarantee you.
God.
Are you looking at what Legend of the Overfiend is? Don't watch the YouTube.
Oh,
just read
no.
the Wikipedia.
I can remember Legend of the Overfiend being spoken about, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be watching that.
I know. Simon Mulvaney and fucking Carl Gack right now are like thinking, oh, those are classics. No, just kidding. I don't know what they think of those. I just like saying their names.
But that takes us to the end of this, of the Mandalorian recap.
That's right.
At this stage, we've, I don't know when the next thing will be. We'll find something to be back for.
And we didn't already say what we were gonna do. I thought we already.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? We were going to do Rebels.
Yeah,
we were doing an episode on that. I wanted to do. Well, it's only one encompassing Visions as well.
I think we should do Visions next, and then we start doing. I think we should just do Rebels weekly. I don't think it'll be that. It'll be.
I think we do a season a week.
Just a season a week. Season a week. We could do that, sure.
I think I can do that.
All right.
I think a season a week sounds reasonable. I was speaking about this with my young. I say my youngest, he's a baby. Been a waste of time speaking to him about it. With one of my younger sons, Max, who he was telling me about Rebels as well today and how much he enjoyed it, and Bad Batch as well. And it's like,
is he gonna watch it with you? He's gonna come over watch Rebels with you?
I think he will do. I think he will do if he can. If he gets to play it well. Actually, the thing that they really want, we haven't even spoken about it at all. Jedi Survivor. That's what they want.
Oh, they want that the game.
They want that. I can see myself. I'll crack at some point. There'll be a sale. I'll get it in there.
How much is it?
Oh, over here, like for the PS5, you're talking probably about 60. It will also be 60 UK.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's well over 100 Canadian in that case, which seems madness.
You already got the PS5? You already have the PS5?
Yeah, got a PS5.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, for the most part, it's mainly for the kids. Like, they're the ones who get much more sort of proper action from it on there as well. But, you know, I'm dare I say, I'm watching a lot of Blu-rays on there, things like that. It's like, I quite enjoy it for the bit of physical media. Right?
Yeah, I like the physical media still too.
Can't argue with that. But what are you up to this week? What are the good people? As soon as we do that, we will let everyone know when we begin recording those.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to the dentist tomorrow to take out a tooth. In the back, so it's not going to be cosmetically noticeable. Thank God for that. But other than that, Wednesday I'm scheduled to be on Best Match Ever with Poison Rana. We're going to talk about. So last time I did a show with them was the great Best Match Ever, the Great Muda. So this time is going to be Best Match Ever, Keiji Muto, and which is a lot harder because there's so many better. Such a wide range of amazing matches as Keiji Muto versus the Great Muta. That was very hard to narrow it down. But I found a good mix of singles and tags in there. So
cool.
Look forward to that. I will say this as a kind of a teaser spoiler thing. It's like, you know, people call like Chono the Mr. G1. I really think Muto is the real Mr. G1. That's my hot take about that. What else we got? Well, you know, Post Perez was last week. If you haven't listened to it, that I did the show with John Pollock. That was fun. We did that. MC Later will return this Thursday with me and Wei Ting coming back finally to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. Though he did the Christmas special along with John. We all did that together. So he's coming back. I believe our special guest will be their man, Neil Flanagan, is going to stay up late Irish time to
God bless him.
Yeah, WH, I'll stay up late for that. You guys are rude to me. Okay, Neil. That's amazing. Thank you. And then, I don't know. I can't remember anything else I'm doing. I think that's it. MC Later and Best Match Ever. And I'll be back with you at some point.
Yes.
Maybe next week we'll do Vision.
I was hoping maybe next week we could do that. Because I think that would be, I think we will do. I think we'll do next week. Because I think we'll be able to get into Rebels. Because this is very much a Star Wars household.
Yes,
like big this time as well.
It'll be a good time whenever I visit the UK and come visit you, JP. We'll just watch talk about Star Wars a lot.
Be fine on the Star Wars front. I mean, I'm getting back into recording this week. I mean, there's been a couple of tiny bits where I've appeared for like half an hour here or there. I am on a latest one on the Grappling Patreon, which I'm not sure is even out at time of recording, which is going to be on 5-1 wrestling theme music that we had on there. So like there
I
is.
think it's with Maddie, Edge, Randy Orton, Steve, I don't know who else with that. I think those are
some of those names come up. Some of them are selected by people you wouldn't expect. It's a strange one. I think you're gonna like what was amazing, the lack of crossover. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but it's like it's a really fun episode, but it's a nightmare for Benno to edit. So I know he's doing that. I think he's doing that probably at the moment. Then in terms of, I'll be doing Spotlight this week. I know I've got loads of catch up to do. I've got to find a way of making sure I finish off the Stardom show, see a bit of the Noah show, watch Wrestling Dontaku, or the main bits from it, and the Champions Carnival final.
Oh yeah, I gotta watch that.
Entirely ignored, but I do. You search somewhere, you know where to look. You'll see a link for the channel.
I subscribe to. I still subscribe to them. So
you're good. You're a good man on that front as well. And apparently, a very handy Noah show as well. So then,
I will say this. I want to
back into the routine of things next.
I want to pitch a 5-1 with Maddie. 5-1 things I think Edge is actually good at.
What is he good at?
Well,
making money. I mean, he's done well.
Sleeping with other people's partners is one. having long hair is another.
Yeah.
Three.
Being from Toronto, mate, you should love him.
He's not from Toronto. He's from Orangeville.
Oh, okay, not real.
He's not. He's not real Torontonian, you know. So, well, I think I can't remember what number 2 like. Humping the ring. First time I ever saw him was a Sexton Hardcastle at a house show in Hamilton. He was humping the ring, so I'll give him that. And number 1 thing, the thing Edge is actually good at is fake fucking on TV. And I told Maddie that. I said this, because I just like to, you know, be a bit cheeky with Maddie about his favorites. And Edge is one of his. He said Edge is top 5 for me, and I'm like, Edge is top 5. This, nothing else. Just kidding. Not really.
You're gonna love this episode then in that case, because like I say, you're gonna be pleasantly surprised by it.
Okay.
I'm back in next week on on proper recording duties. I'll be back on the daily updates and the like. But all I've got to say in the meantime is bye there.
Bye there.